Here tonight, all news since 6 o'clock. It's not sticking to the roads, folks, but we did see March pull one of its snowy surprises on us late today. It was really coming down. Snow squalls zipping all over Kentuckiana. At one point during WHAS11 news at 6, you couldn't see anything on our cameras. It was coming down so fast and furious. And now, right now, let's go ahead and switch over to one of our live cameras for you tonight to show you what it's like on this very cold and windy night in downtown Louisville. The snow showers are starting to break up. Hello, everybody, and thank you very much for joining us tonight. I'm Doug Proffitt. Let's check in now with Ben for our first look at 11 for the overnight hours and what tomorrow morning is going to be like, Ben.
Yeah, what a crazy change we've had over the last 24 hours, Doug. We were in the 60s this time last night, and now we're down to around freezing, so about 30 degrees colder. And it feels colder than that with those wind chills in the lower 20s, 22. It feels like a Bowman field with a wind gust at around 24. The heart of this storm is starting to pull off to the northeast. So we just have a little leftover drizzle and a few flurries here and there. So this storm system is starting to wind down. You'll see the flurries occasionally over the next few hours, and then down to around freezing out the door. Upper teens are wind chills getting started. So bundle up tomorrow. Chilly sunshine in the 40s, wind chills in the 30s, some wind gusts still over 20 miles per hour tomorrow. So lows around freezing tonight, 41 at noon tomorrow, and your forecast high at 48. We have a huge warm up coming up a little bit later in the 7-day forecast.
Thank you very much, Ben. Right here, new at 11, stunned residents of Bardstown, Kentucky are talking to us about the felony indictments facing their longtime sheriff. He's been on the job in Nelson County for 20 years now. The allegations: abuse of public trust, theft by deception, and official misconduct. WHAS 11 night teams Clary Shaley and photojournalist Emma Gefter are reporting from Bardstown.
It floored me, actually, but I am kind of shocked.
Reactions after hearing felony charges placed on longtime Nelson County Sheriff Ramon Pinaroa and his Chief Deputy Brandon Bryan.
He's always been an up and up kind of guy. He's always been respectful.
Sheriff Pinaroa, in office for nearly 20 years, has been indicted on 6 charges, including abuse of public trust, theft by deception, official misconduct, and misdemeanor charges. While his second-in-command, Brandon Bryan, faces 8 charges, including abuse of public trust, theft by deception, forgery, official misconduct, and misdemeanor charges. News of the felony indictments are shocking, especially for the long-standing public servant like Sheriff Pinaroa, who has done more than even outside of just being the sheriff.
He's very active in the community. He's coached Little League sports. He's volunteered his time at the high school. Court
documents show 2 employees filed a complaint alleging they were retaliated against after reporting alleged misconduct. The documents state Bryan illegally sold 3 cars held in evidence to a friend of his who's a local car salesman. It also accuses him of stealing items from the vehicles and putting them in his cruiser. After these allegations were brought to Pinaroa, Bryan was not allowed in the evidence warehouse unsupervised. It was then alleged Bryan stole items from the evidence room in Pinaroa's office.
I guess times are harder than I thought.
At the end of 2024, Kentucky State Police stepped in to investigate these allegations. The employee alleges they were ignored by both men, they were allegedly denied a promotion, and their overtime pay was halted. Still trust the Sheriff's Department?
As much as I always did. I trust the Sheriff's Department. I trust the police department. Those gentlemen and ladies, they risk their lives for us.
Innocent until proven guilty. Now stepping into the Nelson County Justice Center with their own charges. In Bardstown, Clary Shaley, WHAS 11 night team, on your side.
Both Pinaroa and Bryan will be in court on Thursday, March 20th at 2 p.m. at the Nelson County Justice Center. The former Letcher County, Kentucky sheriff charged in the murder of a district court judge plans to use an insanity defense, according to new court documents. Mickey Steins is charged with the murder of Letcher County District Judge Kevin Mullins. The incident happened right inside Mullins' chamber inside the Letcher County Courthouse last September. New court documents indicate that attorneys plan to present a defense of insanity as well as extreme emotional disturbance. It is not known when that motion will be heard. A man is dead after a stabbing happened in South Louisville tonight. Louisville Metro Police responded to the report on Colonial Oaks Court just after 6 o'clock tonight. When officers got there, they found a man who had been stabbed. He was taken to the hospital where he later died. Anyone who can help detectives investigating the case, call the anonymous tip line at 574 LMPD. For the first time, we're hearing directly from the lead federal investigator in the deadly Jividan plant explosion case that's in the Clifton neighborhood. Lauren Grimm from the U.S. Chemical Safety Board just released an initial breakdown pointing to issues with the valves used to relieve pressure from tank number 6, the tank that blew. The tank had heated to 385 degrees before exploding. Mike O'Leary is worried. He's a longtime Clifton resident with the Clifton Community Council.
In my mind, it makes me think it wasn't the employee's fault, it was management's fault.
What we did find that the vent valve was closed after the incident when we inspected it. When the data indicates it should have been open. So exactly what failed here, we're still trying to understand that.
Investigators are looking specifically at when workers were evacuated as well, the emergency rescue plan, and when they were accounted for. We're told the complete findings will include a cause and will likely take several more months. The federal cuts are now hitting our veterans. Trump administration now planning to cut 80,000 employees from the Department of Veterans Affairs, the department that provides health care for the veterans. WHAS11 Night Team's Alex Dieterer and Levi Hammer found one Louisville veteran bracing for the coming changes.
This is a territory we are charging to with no map and no understanding of what could happen.
The federal government announced plans to cut 80,000 employees from the Department of Veterans Affairs. Stephen Gardner with Veterans for Peace is one of 40,000 veterans living in Louisville.
No one knows how many of those people might lose their jobs. However, 100% of them are now anxious.
The announcement comes as part of DOJ's latest federal cuts.
We'll be making major changes, so get used to it.
VA Secretary Doug Collins posted a video to social media following the announcement.
Now, we regret anyone who loses their job, and it's extraordinarily difficult for me, especially as a VA leader, and your secretary to make these types of decisions. But the federal government does not exist to employ people. It exists to serve people.
In a city where a brand new VA medical center is being built, Louisville Congressman Morgan McGarvey is pushing for more transparency on the cuts from DOJ. And for you being on the Veterans Committee, what are the next steps from that standpoint?
There is bipartisan concern for what's happening to the VA right now. We are sending letters. We're asking who's doing this. Who is the DOJ person responsible for doing this? What is their title? Do they know anything about how to run the VA?
This will be a thorough and thoughtful review based on input from career VA employees, senior executives, as well as the top VA leaders.
Veterans make up more than 25% of the VA's workforce.
That means they could be letting go of 20,000 veterans.
Another concern for veterans is what will happen to their benefits.
We're going to accomplish this without making cuts to health care or benefits to veterans and VA beneficiaries.
Even if people don't lose benefits technically, if they have a harder time accessing them, veterans can be a tough population to access. Once you get them to accept something as a matter of trust, and that trust is broken, it can be very difficult to reach them again.
The VA's chief of staff said the agency had an objective to cut enough employees to return to the 2019 staffing levels of 398,000 employees. Right now, there are 470,000. That's a 15% decrease.
I don't see how they're going to have enough people at the VA to take care of our veterans.
An internal memo told VA staff to prepare for an agency-wide reorganization in August. In Louisville, Alex Dieterer, the WHAS11 Night Team, on your side.
The VA, by the way, reached its highest level of service ever last year, serving over 9 million enrollees and delivering more than 127 million health care appointments. Right here, new tonight, the nation's top public health agency says about 180 workers who were laid off 2 weeks ago can now come back to work. Emails with the subject line, "Read this email immediately," were sent to the terminated employees of the CDC, the Centers for Disease Control. The messages said that after further review and consideration, terminations were rescinded and the employees were cleared to return to work. The emails went on to say workers should return to duty under previous work schedules, and they apologize for any disruption that the termination may have caused them. It's not clear how many of the reinstated employees returned to work, or if they did return, that they would be spared from future job cuts. Well, Canadian leaders have been telling people to pull Kentucky bourbon off the store shelves. Appearing on Canada's most watched news network, CTV, Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear is slamming the Trump tariffs, and he told Canadian viewers he's got unusual support.
Certainly coming from Kentucky. you're seeing not just me saying that tariffs are a really bad idea, but two Republican senators, Mitch McConnell and Rand Paul. And while I know your viewers don't know a lot about Kentucky politics, if Mitch McConnell and Rand Paul and myself are all saying something is a bad idea, it's because it's a really bad idea.
Andy Beshear said early about 23% of Kentucky exports go to Canada. Most of that is bourbon. President Trump and Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau discussed lifting some tariffs in a heated phone call today. Canada imposing its own 25% retaliatory tariff on American goods. Well, two Canadian provinces, get this right here, pulling Kentucky bourbon off the shelves. And right there, you can see they were pulling off Maker's Mark, produced in Loretto, Kentucky. They've already pulled U.S. alcohol off the shelves. The Kentucky Distillers Association said the retaliation threatens more than 23,000 bourbon jobs in our state. Bro Brothers Distillers in Louisville relied on Canada for nearly 5% of its sales and lost a potential deal with the New Brunswick province due to tariffs.
I don't know if anybody's going to be able to absorb that. So we're definitely going to have to make some adjustments there. So maybe it's a matter of doubling down domestically. So we're in 23 states now, so maybe it's time to go look at those other 27 states.
And now tonight it does appear Donald Trump may be softening his stance on the tariffs, granting a 1-month exemption for the big three automakers, Ford, General Motors, and Stellantis. This comes after the three companies held a phone call with the president asking for time to prepare for the new tax. The White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt saying Trump is open to exemptions to tariffs for some goods, but Vice President J.D. Vance shutting that down while he was at the border.
The president's been very clear here that he wants the tariffs to apply broadly. He doesn't want to have 500 different industries getting 500 different carve-outs.
Mexico responding to the tariff, saying there will be no submission, and China responding fiercely. Its foreign minister posting on social media, if war is what the U.S. wants, be it a tariff war, a trade war, or any other type of war, we're ready to fight till the end. End quote.